how are we going to deal with this to sustain the economic growth that we are experiencing right now? Let me first say that what we are experiencing as of the moment in our economic condition is basically a lot of momentum that has been built up over the past few years, and we show that some data to support that. I'll begin by looking first at the first three things that usually our colleague Shell Habito uses: the petit test, the price, presyo, trabajo, at kita. Okay? And in the last, this is what we are seeing in the price picture in the economy right now. We have had experienced this tremendous drop in prices in the last 6 years, but in the last few weeks, few months, we have seen an uptick of the prices. Okay? This is the price part. The economy part, this is the economic growth for the last almost 10 years on a quarterly basis. And we have actually, if you look at the last three bars, there represents the performance of the economy under Duterte. We have seen a little bit of a slowdown, but still way above the generational average um, the last many years. And you can see that it's really still supported by industry and services and a little help from the OFWs. And in terms of jobs, we actually posted the lowest unemployment rate in October last year. That's the lowest so far in our economic history. But there was a sudden upturn towards the first quarter. So we were back to about 6.6% unemployment. We have hit about 5.8, if I'm not mistaken, in October of 2016. Still about 2.6 million unemployed. So what are the key points in this petit test? Firstly, we are looking at prices or inflation picking up, and like what Tony said, it's very important we have a permanent appointment of the DSP governor because this is going to affect all of us. So prices is in a very important condition that we know where we are going in terms of prices. The level as of right now of about 3.4 is still within the upper limit of the GSP of 4%. So because of that, we do not see yet many significant action on the central bank in terms of other interest rates related matters. Our economic growth is still high at about 6%, 2% higher than our generational growth of 4%. So that is still the momentum that we have. And if we could just sustain that for another 6 years, we can see a tremendous decline in the poverty rate if we sustain that. And if unemployment will remain at the levels that we have right now and will not go back to double digits that we had in the mid 2000 onwards, that would be a key, that would be a key in saying that the Philippines is actually stronger in terms of its economic foundations. Having said that, this is data on how the Philippines has performed compared with our Asian neighbors, and particularly the ASEAN. And you can see that from the 80s, where our growth rate was just averaging 2%, we have reached about 5%. So that's still faster than our ASEAN peers. Of course, China rebounded with a stronger growth in the first quarter this year, but still, compared to our ASEAN neighbors, we are still growing faster. But the question is, where is this growth coming from? So if you want to sustain this growth, where is it coming from, and can we sustain it for a long time? The main source of the growth that we have experienced in the last few years is basically investments, and we have not seen this in the last 10, 20 years. And if you look at even during the time of President Duterte, from the last three quarters there, you can see that the orange bars there represents investments in durable equipment. So substantial investments there, telling us that the economy is primed for an expansion in the next few years, right? However, if you look at the details of this equipment investments, the first thing that you will see there that the much of the investment in equipment is going to some electronics related equipment, which is very close to our major export, which is electronics. And just like what Tony said in his last point about our issue about traffic, about half of that equipment investment is actually road vehicles. So we are putting a lot of money building factories to bring in more cars. So that's the question about the traffic. So how long will we be able to sustain that? So it also I wanted to take a look at this chart because in the tax reform program we're going to tax vehicles, and so it will going to dent on our investments as well, right? Now, in terms of services, if you're looking at the options where the economy is going to get more growth, you can see here services is the most important contributor to economic growth, but actually the main driver of economic growth in services is basically trading, wholesale trading, and retail trading. So these are your malls and real estate. And if you look at the stock market, the companies that are really growing and getting bigger, the conglomerates that have real estate, banking, and malls. So this is your services economy. And in the industry component, manufacturing is also big, but the manufacturing sector in this country is very limited, only being buoyed by food, chemicals, and electronics. Again, the electronic part goes to your export. The food, basically processed food, also led by a lot of our conglomerates. And if you are looking for the more significant long-term growth contributor, which is agriculture, we can see that it's very erratic. We cannot really put a lot of our energy and resources there if it's not going to respond just like what we are expecting it to do. Later, I will show you some more points about agriculture. Let me just summarize first about the key points on where the growth is coming from. So we see that actually investment is surging, but it's limited to equipment and transport. So if they're going to be supporting future growth, then you should also be trying to expand the kind of equipment that we are investing on. What are the resources needed for the future economic growth? Okay, so that's one point there. On services, we should also diversify. Our services is very limited to trading, real estate, and finance. So we have some services coming up in the BPOs, but they are not as big as the contribution coming from this sector. Manufacturing is growing, but it's also limited. We have a very good strategy by the Department of Trade on the revival of the manufacturing sector, but as of the moment, they have yet to pick up in other sectors. So very limited manufacturing base that we have, and agriculture is too erratic to sustain growth. And because of that, we have a challenge in the aspect of inclusivity. If you want to see economic growth to go faster, we also have to see that there should be significant decline in the poverty condition. So the last poverty data that we have showed that there were more than 2 million people pulled out of poverty in the last 6 years. That's significant, but we need more. We need to pull up more, right? So, and if you look at that on a regional perspective, this is where the problem or challenges of distributing economic growth is critical. So the president and his team will see later what are they going to do, because they have seen this data that poverty is concentrated in areas where there is very little economic growth, right? In the regional economic condition, there are actually only just 4 regions in the Philippines that are growing very fast. Of course, NCR, then Central Luzon, and Region 4, Central Visayas, Davao, and Northern Mindanao. The incredible growth of Eastern Visayas, 12.4%, is of course because of the resources put up there for the Yolanda rebuilding. But that's not natural, right? So after some point in time, it will normalize, right? And you see the areas of conflict we are having right now are it has the lowest economic growth. And if you look at the per region basis, I think this is a better story to look at. If you look at this bubble chart, you can see that this part representing the GDP per capita per region and the growth of GDP per capita arm is actually negative. There's no growth in its per capita GDP, and only about those 4 or 5 regions representing good economic growth, right? And so what kind of strategy is needed by the Duterte administration in order to be able to catch up and distribute this economic growth? And this is data coming from the Department of Trade, showing you also that manufacturing cannot be for all the regions of this country. And so you can see that only a certain portion of the country can actually be based for manufacturing. And it's very clear where growth is coming from is also regions that have very strong manufacturing base, right? And because largely the country is still agricultural, so this is the agricultural base, you also have to do something about agriculture, right? Because agriculture, as a policy of the Duterte government, they have announced that they will put a lot of resources on rice, and the statement made by Tony about the rice importation, etc. The importance of agriculture in the economy, it cannot be understated because a lot of people are still working in that sector. So this is data on the employed people, and about 26% remains to be in agriculture. So if there's no economic growth in that sector, people there will simply move to services because they cannot move to industries because of the skills requirement. So if they move to services, they will not go either to the high-paying services sector. So they will most likely become construction workers, low-income services that will not necessarily be giving them the same level of income that they expect to get. And but one thing that is interesting in our work data is that in the last 10 years or so, there is a significant improvement in the number of people working in the formal sector. So meaning there is some formality, so you're able to cover them for social security. The challenge, however, is that even contractuals can fall into formalized employment. So at a certain point in time, they may have protection, but after the contract ended, they will be gone. So that's why it's very important for the Duterte administration to make a very clear policy on contractualization. Right? This is what I'm saying about the policy statement of the government to put its resources on rice. And we have seen that this is not going to be this has not sustained us in the last years and decades because self-sufficiency may not be possible, because if you look at the data where rice is actually most available in this country, there are only about 3 or 4 regions that are really suitable for planting rice. So if you put all your resources in planting rice, then you miss out on developing other agricultural products and services. And what I'm going to show here primarily is, for example, cassava is the fastest growing agricultural product of this country. And it's produced mostly in ARMM. Look at the implication. If you put support in this production, then you also solve certain issues on peace and poverty at the same time. So the thing is the focus on rice does not necessarily solve our problem on food prices, because it can be solved just like what Tony mentioned earlier. If you just allow importation to come in, then the challenge of prices rising too fast in terms of food can be addressed as well. So it's a technical and a political question at the same time. But it's very obvious that we cannot put all our resources in agriculture on 1 or 2 products. It has to be distributed because they have far more implication in terms of solving poverty and addressing these issues. So the key points is that poverty has fallen, but at the rate that we are facing new challenges right now, it will be difficult to expect significant declines, particularly as the conflict areas being affected right now have already the lowest or have the highest poverty rate. So you will furthermore have higher poverty situation there. Our growth is imbalanced in structure and in regions. Agriculture is important, but should not focus more on rice alone. So these are some of the things that we are facing, or in a broader sense. Those are the first part I showed you, the current conditions, but these are the things that we can look at or be concerned at. First one is infrastructure catch-up, manufacturing surge, BPO growth, then we have the Marawi crisis. There's an external thing happening in terms of the global adjustments, Trump, Brexit. Then we have China coming into the picture, just as Tony said, and then we also have our own issues internally that we need to respond to. And if we look at that, how can we sustain the growth if we face these things? So much of it is external and internal at the same time. So if you look at the three critical economic balances that we always try to measure, this is similar to your regular checkup, your ECG, your blood pressure, and your ano ba yung savings? Heart condition, right? So what is the balance right now of these things? These three things are the things that investors are looking at. They are also the things that economic managers are looking at to tell us if the country is healthy enough to move on and not make significant economic adjustments. So the first one is the fiscal or the budget of the government. The second is the balance of payments representing the foreign exchange, and the last is the savings investment. This is the picture of the budget in the last 10 years, and we know that the Philippines hardly posted any surplus in terms of its budget or fiscal situation, right? Because it always spends more than what it gets. And in the last 3 quarters, you see the last 3 bars there, we have seen significant shortfalls in terms of revenue and higher expenditures by this new government. But suffice it to say that the Duterte government is experiencing an advantage in terms of debt to service, because that means they're paying the amount that we pay in terms of our debt, whether foreign and local combined, is actually falling. That means there's area for more borrowing in the future, or also there's an area for the government to harness more internal resources. It's telling us 2 things there. So we can actually tap the external market. The time of Aquino allowed us to get the investment grade, right? The investment grade is supposed to be an opportunity for us to tap the international market. It's not a certificate to say I am graduate of something. It's not a bragging right. The investment grade, the best use for that is to be able to tap the international markets at a lower rate of interest and a better deal in terms of borrowing. Unfortunately, the Aquino government never used that. And so here, the Duterte government has that opportunity. They can use that investment grade ranking to borrow abroad at better rates and to be able to also discuss better terms for payment in the future. And unfortunately, that's why the tax program is very critical, because here, this is what the tax program is trying to respond to. Our tax to GDP ratio has not moved in the last 10 years. Right? The GDP has grown very fast, but the tax collected remained at 14% of GDP. So that means the buoyancy is not happening. It's supposed to be when your economy is growing, your tax collection should also grow. But in this case, it has remained. And that's why tax reform is very critical. You need to do something either to improve collection or to change the way you collect taxes or to lower the rates. right? That is important because the Duterte government wants to put a lot of money in social welfare. And this is what they have been mentioning in the debate between Winnie Monsod and Len Santa Ana. They were talking about this. How are we going to fund the social welfare component? Because the increase in social security and welfare is very significant. If you're going to do a significant tax reform, you should be able to provide for those that will be affected by the change, right? So that's the situation in terms of the budget. The government has a very good, relatively good budget condition, are able to tap the international markets. The thing is, are they able to use the budget well? That's another story. Okay, we're just talking about the balance. The second balance that is very important is called the balance of payment. But I'll just focus on one very important aspect of the balance of payment, which is the current account, which means this is the, as of now, how much of your transaction brings in dollar and how much of your transaction brings out dollar. This is what the Duterte government faced. You know? After experiencing significant surpluses, too much dollars coming in, we suddenly have a reversal. So when they came in July, by October and by the first quarter of this year, we are not getting more dollars. We are spending more dollars. Okay, so we are now in a current account deficit. Okay, the first one after the Asian global financial crisis. The global financial crisis is not a doing of the Philippines; it's an external event. So that's why it's quickly recovered. But you see here, double current account deficit 2 quarters. And most likely when Espinilla sits on July 1, the deficit would also continue. So that means we are experiencing some challenges in terms of bringing in more foreign exchange, right? So that's a picture there. However, we still have a very good reserve condition. This is our foreign exchange reserves. Please look at the bottom here. It's starting from 74 billion. Okay, so I adjust so you can see the implication. So actually, in the last few months, there have been a decline in our reserves, but still, it's still much higher than what we had before, right? So our reserves is about right now about $81 billion, and it's still able to pay about 9 months of imports. So that's still relatively high because the valuation would automatically happen when you can only pay 3 months of your imports. And we're way beyond that. 6 months would be some warning signs, but still way up there. All right. These are some data. I got this from our colleague Shell Habito, just to show you. I'm not updated it to 2016, but to show you the shares of the importance of our partners in the region, and including US and UK, and their impact if there are economic conditions that are negative to these countries and how they will affect us. Russia and China, actually, in terms of remittances, they don't give much remittance. Much of the remittance that are more important are actually coming from US and Europe. And our most important trade partner now, contrary to most of what we know, is actually ASEAN. So because the Philippines have put all of its trade policies aligned with ASEAN, so our workings with our ASEAN neighbor is very important. So now, as chair of ASEAN, actually the Philippines is in a position to do more in terms of our trade policies. Right? We all know that the Philippines is not an export story. We are not Malaysia, we are not Singapore, we are not Thailand, not even Indonesia. And our closest rival in ASEAN right now, Vietnam, is trumping us in exports. And you have not heard from the Duterte administration what are they going to do about exports, right? Except that they want a strategy of manufacturing. See, we still have one of the lowest exports receipts in the region. What may be saving us from lower goods export is our exports of services, BPOs, right? And this is, of course, the most, I mean, if we take this out, the Philippine economy probably will grow only about 3%. So the OFW remittances have helped the economy a lot, and is still helping the economy a lot. Our challenge with the OFWs is that the people that are used to go out with higher incomes are no longer leaving because they have options in BPOs here. And therefore, those that are leaving the country are the lower income, lower skilled workers, which you also need to put in a lot of resources because they are the ones who need a lot of protection when something happens because they cannot fend for themselves. So that's a challenge. We still will probably get another $29 billion from OFWs this year. That's a huge amount. And the way we use that resource is something that we cannot dictate because it's private flows. It is not government money. I think most people misconstrue the fact that there's a large amount of money, but it's basically private flows. So it's really up to the OFWs how they want their money to be spent. Of course, the BPOs still an important component of dollar in the economy. We estimate probably by next 2 years, if status quo, no change in the U.S. policy in regard to moving back or attracting back business back to the U.S., the BPOs will remain at their levels and probably overtake remittances in the next 2 years. So that's something that we can look forward to. This is international tourism receipts also important. We have about last year we hit about 6 million tourist arrivals. Actually, that 6 million people are very happy about it, but it's not really high. I mean, Phuket can get 15 million, it's only an island. Singapore can get 30 million. And that 6 million already have problems with the crowded airport. How do you bring more people to come in? And then you have challenges with the crisis that you're facing. So you are actually putting in peril a lot of this supposed contribution of the tourism sector. But they have already contributed a significant amount to the economy. So if we compare the Philippines to our neighbors, in terms of international financial position, the Philippines actually has the lowest international reserves from the central bank. We have the lowest international reserves, but we are the most covered. If there's a crisis, we are supposed to be not to be as affected as them, but it also means that we are least open, meaning we're not trading as much. Because there's not much to trade in terms of goods in the country. We're very limited, right? And our external debt used to be the highest, now the lowest. So actually, these are the elements that the Duterte government can actually use in accessing the international market. But you know, this data were also the data that happened to the peaks. You know, the peaks, Portugal, Ireland, Greece, and Spain, just before the crisis hit them. They were also in the same condition. That's why it's very important that these measurements are also looked at in a more substantive way of how strong is the foundation of the economy. And the OFWs have allowed us actually to not to push much on FDI. We have the lowest FDI in the region. We also got about 6 billion foreign direct investment. So we need to catch up in this aspect. Okay. So how do we sustain this growth? This is some elements of how the Duterte administration performed in terms of its promises. The first one is, I'll just go on the economic part. So the tax reform is already passed in the lower house, so it will go to the Senate, and which I think will not be easy. It will take a lot of time. It's not. I'm going to explain a bit later in regard to that. We have the SSS pension. If you're watching the revenues of GOCC, SSS already reported a huge decline in its revenues because they have to pay 1,000 more. And so I think most of you here are SSS contributors that will affect your future. So you can think about the implication of policy, populist policy versus practical policy. Think about those things. And then we have to building the railways. They're all underway. The jeepney replacements, SMEs, one-stop service to acquire. So these are the things that that we saw in the promises, right? If you follow the government, they also produced a document called the Ambition 2040. Very important document. If you're a planner, I think you should have a hold of that, get the details, what are the things being mentioned there. Very interesting in the simple and comfortable life people wanted. This is about 80% of the people in that survey said that they want to have a vehicle. See, that's why this is has something to do with the long-term vision of people, right? They are seeing that if you are not going to build those trains, those public transport on time, you might as well give me a vehicle. But if you're going to tax the vehicle, this is where your tax reform is very crucial. Remember, in 2007, if I'm right, the VAT caused two senators to lose the elections. So in the Congress, it's very easy because there's so many names there. But in the national, when the senators come to the election, if they do not pass this as soon as possible, they will be remembered in the next election. And if you pass it in the terms of the vehicles, you see the impact. Right? So that's why it's going to take some time and more justification why you're going to tax vehicles. This is the PDP of the president, and it's based on enhancing the social fabric, reducing inequality, and increasing potential growth. This is the longest PDP I think we have, 22 chapters. The former PDP, they only have about 10, 12 chapters. This one, 22, very detailed in many aspects. But the anchor is that, just like what I said, this government has seen the need to redistribute economic growth, so they want a national spatial strategy rather than having a common national strategy. So they want the regions to focus on growth and help them instead. So that's why the federalism idea is on the table. The Ambition 2040 also said that more people want to be in cities, right? And the Duterte administration want to solve the problem of infrastructure lack by putting a lot of resources on infrastructure. About 23%, about 1/5 of the budget will go to infrastructure. That is for this year, but in the next few years you see that it will be continually increasing together with social services. And that's why your tax reform is very crucial. How do you fund that? Right? These are some of the projects set in place. These are built in billions, by the way. Okay, and this is our, as chair of the ASEAN, this is our theme right now. You can see that most of it is looking at trade facilitation and trying to bring in SMEs into the picture. The Philippines has about 80% SMEs. Most of the companies here are SMEs, but the contribution to employment is just about 60%. So you need to catch up there. So what should be the Duterte government doing in the next 5 years? Very important. I circled there the last 3 years, last 3 quarters that the Duterte government is in power. The blue line there represents the investment in public infrastructure, and instead of growing, it's actually going down. It's not because the government does not have the money. It's of course the usual things that you hear every morning on the AM radio, that they cannot make these projects go because of certain red tape issues, right? So we have to do it fast and do it quick. Otherwise, the infrastructure promise will not happen. It will just become, every year we will see the desire but cannot be implemented, right? The second important thing that you need to pass is the tax reform. You want to give relief to people, do so. Give people the opportunity to spend the money that they earn, but at the same time, it has to be passed as proposed. It cannot be diluted and diluted and diluted. At the end of the day, if we have a proposed tax that comes out at the end of the day that is not going to bring in more resources, then it will be a problem for us over the long term, right? So if you're almost going to tax everything there, the, the challenge is, do we have the capacity to know if these are the right taxes that we are putting on? So the most critical there is, of course, the tax on petroleum and for cars, and taxes on fatty foods, sugar, mining, etc. And- But the challenge of doing that is that when you tax, when you do, when you lower the income tax takes, but you charge more in terms of consumer goods, how will that affect prices? And this is just a picture of what are the most important products that the Filipino family consume. And a lot of that is really food, right? So if you tax certain items there, then you also are going to affect inflation at the same time, affecting transport, affecting power, etc. So we might as well look at the implication of these taxes. It was not so much in the sin tax because, as you can see, but in the basket they're not as much. But when you tax food, then it will show in the prices. Another must do, and Tony already mentioned it, we need to end the Marawi crisis soon. Even the our tourism industry private practitioners have already mentioned this. Right? There is about 12.7% of the population, working population, who are in the tourism sector. And at the current rate of cancellations of some of our tourism inputs, they would be affected if this crisis is not ended sooner. Right? Then we will have to face twin deficit. The Marawi crisis definitely, we have funds for rehabilitation, but if we don't have enough funds, with the way we are working with our international partners, we have to generate more money internally, right? So that's why it will impact the budget significantly after that. And also, you have current account deficit already, so you are going to put a lot of pressure on the OFW remittances and the BPOs to be able to soften the impact on the current account and on the currency. Having said that, as I end, I'd like to show you, this is the Qatar impact of the Qatar blockade, the withdrawal of diplomatic support to Qatar. Actually, even after the withdrawal of support to Qatar, oil prices continue to slump. So that's a big plus, at least. No? It means that it's not going to affect our prices and it's not going to affect inflation. And despite all of the things, negative, Tony mentioned a lot of bad, some of them are actually ugly, but the economy in terms of the stock exchange actually is moving. Actually, the stock market is up about 17% this year from December, right? So if you have put your money there, you should be very happy person today, right? Despite what is happening. So it could be that people don't want to read the news, they just put their money in the stock market. So it's actually growing very fast. If, I don't have the data here with my phone. The net foreign buying actually is tremendous in the last 3 months. The foreigners are buying Philippine stocks, and it's going up. And that's why you have this. Our original forecast for this year is that the stock market would grow only about 5% at the end of the year, but we have reached 8,000 earlier, right? And that's why the peso, which was already depreciating at the start of the year to about more than 50, right? It went back to 40 something, 49, because there are more dollar inflows from those playing in the stock market. This is a very, if you monitor this chart, we have been monitoring it for like 20, 30 years now. You can see the correlation between the stock market and the peso dollar rate. If the stock market goes up, the peso dollar rate will appreciate, because the stock market is dominated by foreigners, not by locals. So if it's a Filipino stock market, then the stock exchange will not affect the exchange rate. But in our case, more than 60 to 70% of trades in the stock market is foreign. And so that's why you have this. And do you know where the Filipinos are putting their money? Do you know where? This is where the Filipinos are putting their money. In the banks. So the banking system right now has about 6 billion pesos, 6 trillion, sorry, 6 trillion pesos sleeping in savings and time deposit. We actually have a lot of money in the system, not being used for economic growth or gains. Right? In Marawi alone, right? So the money that they collected there, they're not invested somewhere, they're kept. And so this the system that we have generated. Also, this is an important point that our financial system that Espinilla will manage in the next probably 12 years is actually a very strong banking system. Our banking system has become strongest in its more than 40 years or 60, 70 years of existence. The non-performing loans in banks have fallen from 15% to only about 1.5%. So meaning for every 100 pesos they lend, only 1 peso and 50 cents not returned. So that's how strong the banking system. And that's why this is what you have. We have a condition of very low interest rates. Unfortunately, this is also the same rates that is fueling more people to buy more cars, to use their credit cards, and to borrow from us. It's good. It depends on how people will use it well. But generally, this should be a good news, particularly for entrepreneurs, so they can borrow at very low rates. But hardly this money are tapped. Right? Very few people actually are borrowing from banks. Okay? So what are our expectations for the rest of the year? Probably will grow at 6.7% at the end of the year. The peso will probably grow between 49 to 50 on average. Interest rate, because of what we are seeing right now, would not go up so high, right? And inflation would still be within central bank expectation, and remittance will grow about 5%. Okay, so that's just about it. Thank you very much.